Hi, thank you so much for joining the Falling for Learning podcast. I am TD Flinoff. We have this podcast to help parents and caregivers with having the resources, strategies, and tools needed to make sure that their children are on track for learning and to stay on track for success.
Thank you for joining us for the Falling for Learning podcast. Of course, we're all about how to get that next generation together, making sure they're on track for success. And today is a special episode because we're going to talk about what's going on in some of the public schools, specifically schools that are represented by UTLA. That's United Teachers Los Angeles. And there are some negotiation issues and there may be a strike. And we're going to talk today to a union leader about what this means for our kids. What are the teachers demanding? Or what is the district's pushback? All of the things so that you can make an informed decision as a parent, as an educator, as a caregiver, right? What do we need to do for our kids? Okay, so thank you so much for coming on the show, Mr. James Riley. He was on the show before talking as a restorative justice teacher. He told us about how he fell in love with learning. But another hat that he wears is as a UTLA rep for one of the local elementary schools in Los Angeles. So he's going to talk to us all about this. We want to get that inside scoop, wanting to hear what it is that we're facing and what are we trying to get for teachers. Now, full disclosure, I am a UTLA member. And of course, I am, I could be affected by going on the strike. It's not something that people take lightly. And so that's why we really wanted to be clear with you all about what is on the table, what we're advocating for our students and the schools and all of the things. Okay, stay tuned. Okay, so Mr. Riley, tell us about what you do as a union leader at an elementary school.
Well, first of all, thank you for the invitation to join your show. Such a pertinent topic that is necessary to discuss right now because, like you said, we're days away from a possible strike. And as a chapter chair leader at my school sites, I kind of make my members aware of what the union is saying and how the members can get behind what the union is saying. So, great time to be a teacher, I guess, because a lot of these things are taking place up and down the state. And so we're just another one of those school districts who are actually standing up for what we believe in. And so some of the main issues that we're looking at is salary, of course, where you have 21% of LAUSD teachers, they earn salaries that qualify for low income housing. We have 35% of new educators leave the profession within 5 years, or at least Los Angeles Unified. And then LAUSD the average educator, the ranking for, the pay ranks is 18 out of 21, and that's comparable districts up and down the states. It's kind of crazy that LAUSD is on the verge of striking, and so we're trying to do everything that we can to avert a strike. No one wants to strike. First of all, let's say that.
No one wants to strike. I agree. No one wants to do this. I'm like, it's going to come together before that. We're not going to have to. That's what I want to say. That's what I'm trying to manifest. Like, it's going to come together. So, Mr. Riley, as you're listening, James Riley, I'm used to calling you. As I'm listening to you, and if we're thinking from the lens of a parent, right? So we're talking about with some educators, salary issues, leaving the profession. How does that impact the classroom? So let's talk about those things. Like if I'm a parent, right? So we know what the educator part is, but as a parent, why should I care that maybe the teachers should need a raise, or if teachers leave in 5 years, like why is that something that, how does that impact and what should why should I care as a parent?
Absolutely. So parents are definitely the backbone. I mean, because we need the parent support in the classroom. And so parents need to be aware of what is going on with the district and the fundings and the monies that they're using to support, the local school districts and the neighborhood schools. And so there's so many things that have been happening, across the news. There was this one instance where LAUSD employee mishandled and was money laundering. This is like, okay, this is kind of crazy that the school district is doing this. And so we really want to get parents involved and have them make an informed decision in terms of, supporting the teachers. And because ultimately the teachers are teaching the kids in the classroom. And without the parent support, then it's not going to work. And so when I was in the classroom, as a self-contained teacher, I wanted the parent support. I wanted to communicate the ups and downs with that particular child or, the class, especially during parent conference and open house.
Yeah.
You really want to build a rapport. And so if you're teaching the kids in the classroom, you want to develop their partnership, I call it. And so it's very important for parents to kind of know what's going on with the school district. And so because
so I'm going to pause you for 1 second. I really like what you're saying about having the parent support, letting the parents know what's going on. But when we're linking it to salary, I think that's important. So something that I didn't hear you mention yet, but I do know, is that many, many, many teachers in LAUSD, because they live in Los Angeles, which is a very high cost of living area, and their income qualifies them for low income, that means that lots of teachers are taking on extra jobs, right?
Absolutely.
And so the way that translates is that they are not fully able to have all of their time and energy to teaching the way that they may want to, right? Because
Absolutely.
most of us see teaching as a career, right? And it's also a calling, right?
Yes.
And it's something that we do because we're passionate about it. We care about kids. We care about the community. And I'm always talking about that next generation. And when you have to supplement your income with other jobs and other things, that obviously we're not machines. It obviously splits some of our focus and takes away from all the things that we're able to give to teaching. So that's a concern. And then when we're linking that, and you said earlier, when there's a 5 years with teachers leaving within 5 years with like a high turnover rate. Can you tell us how that translates to the quality of teaching and the quality of teacher relationships and that type of thing?
I have a stat for you since you were talking about, teachers having to have a second job. So about 30% of LAUSD educators have a second job just to make ends meet. So you're talking about, you've been in the classroom from 7:30 to maybe 3 o'clock. You go home. If you have a family, you take care of family, and then you're off to a second job. If it's at a brick and mortar place, like, I've worked with some teachers who worked at Trader Joe's or they worked in a restaurant, waiting on being a server or something like that. And so, if it's fortunate enough where you're working online, that's still a job, right? You have to make space. You have to make time for that. So, 30% of our teachers, and like I said earlier, 35% of the teachers leave LAUSD within 5 years. And so speaking to the quality of education for that particular teacher, if they're doing that, they're not able to, look over and review some of the things that is necessary for them to teach the next day. And so, for instance, there's a part of our contract where, we're 8-hour employees, but we can spend the other 2 hours away from the school site. And so what a lot of educators do, you'll see teachers rolling their carts, to their car, and they're putting the carts in the car. And what are they, what are they doing? They're grading papers. They're looking at assessments. They're reading over writing, lesson planning, all that stuff. And so it really takes more than just the 2 hours. And so if you sat down from 6 to 8, on a given day, you're gonna use a lot of time, especially with the curriculum that's going on now. Some of the curriculum that we're using is brand new. And
Right.
so
Takes more
teachers need to
time.
become, it takes more time, and teachers need to become comfortable with figuring out what they're going to do. And the whole thing with, uh, testing iReady and differentiated instruction. You
Right.
got different levels, and so it's a lot. It's a lot for teachers, and so yes, if teachers are worried about their pay and trying to make ends meet, going to a second job, then that they're not going to have that time and dedication to really put into their craft, their career, to help the kids get where
Yes.
they need to be.
And that's so interesting you use the word craft because, yes, teaching is craft. Teaching is an art. There's an artistic element to teaching, the creativity that
Absolutely.
you bring, your personality that you bring, the
Yes.
relationships, all of those things. And then when we're thinking about teachers burning out within 5 years due to low pay, maybe working two
Yeah.
jobs, different things like this, then when we're thinking about the quality of educators that we have, right? Because then they're gone. There's a new first-year teacher,
Hmm.
and it's a learning gap. It's a learning curve as people come into the profession. And if the
Yes.
5 years, that's when people are kind of starting to get their expertise,
Hmm.
and then they're gone, right?
Yeah.
Because of
Yeah.
burnout, and then we got to start that over again. So the teachers, as you may have had experience as a parent where the teacher was new, and there's different levels to the quality of a brand new teacher. Usually everyone is earnest, right?
Yes.
To really do a good job, but it doesn't always come together the way it should, and our students suffer. But if we're having a strong teaching profession, I could get help from a teacher like Mr. Riley. If I'm new, I could get help from, and I could get past those years with a lot of support, and it'll be the best for students. And
Yes.
then I'm in my expertise area, continuously growing and developing, but just staying in that 1 to 5 years, you're not getting the
Hmm.
high quality that you could have if you're having career teachers. And teachers bring so many other things. You see, Mr. Riley wears other hats. And that's what happens when you
Absolutely.
are dedicated to the profession. You don't have to work extra jobs that way. You can
Yeah.
bring so much extra programs and creativity and really get to the heart of issues that may be causing students to lag behind.
Yeah. I have another stat I want to throw at you. During the
All right.
2024-25 school year, we're talking about keeping teachers, in the classroom. There's estimated that more than 700 classroom positions were not filled by permanent teachers. And that's because, folks are leaving. Folks are like, look, it's too much pressure because of all of the testing. That's an issue. Too
Yes.
much pressure because of the lack of salary. Too much pressure, not enough time to prepare and, get into the creative bag that teachers need to get into, because you just don't want to be a sage on the stage and be like, okay, let's turn to page 52 and read. Okay,
Yes.
so-and-so. Nah, you got to bring some personality. And, you want the kids to like you, because if they like you, they're going to do what you ask them to do. They will follow you. But if you're just
Yeah.
a regular, oh, okay, a kind of a robotic kind of situation and
Yes.
no
Yes.
lack personality, it's going to be a struggle. And with some of our kids, some of our kids need some extra
They need extra.
attention, support, as we call
Yes,
it.
they do.
And if you don't get that, the parent on your side in terms of buying in to what the classroom curriculum is all about, then you're going to have issues for the rest of the school year.
Yeah. I mean, it just said so succinctly, like, thank you for bringing that up.
The Rewrite Method and the Rewrite Method Workbook are your go-to resource for helping kids to learn to fall in love with writing. It has the tips, tools, resources, strategies, and skill-building activities to help kids fall out of writing hate and into loving to write. Get your book set today.
Absolutely.
It's just so important, right, to think about all of these issues and how they relate to what's happening in the school. I have the Falling for Learning podcast because I believe that's the secret ingredient, that kids are able to have fun, that kids are excited and engaged, and that's where
Yes.
you could get them learning. Not that I've made you do this, and
Yeah.
like you said, that robotic, like let's go to page 2 next, let's do this next. Like it's really about fun and engaging and using that education to do the things that they want to do, right? To
Yes.
advocate for themselves, to build something, to do something different, learn something new.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, here's the thing, teachers, going back to what some of the teacher demands are for the district, just asking, kind of simple things. And so, from a parental point of view, um, teachers are asking or fighting for more counselors, right? More social workers, more
Yes.
schools, so psychologists and school supports. Of course, we're asking, again, we talked about a better pay to keep and retain educators in our school district. We're looking for more arts and physical education in schools, especially in our secondary classes. Secondary meaning 6th through 12th grade
The
classes.
middle and high school, yes.
Middle school and high school, more support and resources for special education, and then also support for immigrant students and their families. And so there's so much money being spent on other things. And I'll just drop this stat right here. Technology, right? Technology is, we're living in the information age.
Yes.
Technology is very, very important. Don't get me wrong. However, when the district is dropping $1.9 billion for for-profit tech companies, when some of those things can be used in the classroom. Also, from our union, they said that almost 1,300 contracts were given to outside vendors for, for technology and other things. The amount of money fails me, but I do have another stat that says about 10 billion was committed to private contracts since 2022. 10 billion. Now, that's outside stuff. That's outside folks coming into the school district saying, hey, we need you to do X, Y, and Z.
Right.
That's a lot of money, right? And then the last thing, to start the beginning of this school year, $5 billion was just kind of set aside in reserves instead of investing in student resources. And so now, we've gone through at the various school sites, they've gone through and said, okay, this is your budget for next year. And then, of course, a lot of things were cut, but yet the school district is sitting on, 5. And I believe the number has grown, right? And so they sit on $5 billion. And they said this same thing 2 years ago or 3 years ago in 2023, when we had $6 billion. They were, if we pay everybody, if we get all the supports that we need, then the school district is going to go bankrupt and we're not going to have any money. Did the school district go bankrupt? I mean, so it's just like,
it's
come
a
on
lot.
now. It's a lot.
Yeah. So we really have to, really be, we need to question, right? In our
Absolutely.
democracy, we need to question, figure out where that money is going, figure out if that's the best use. Outside vendors are great. They can bring great things to the campus, but should it be at the expense of the teachers that are there day to day, the counselors that are there day to day?
Absolutely.
Right.
Absolutely.
And of course, because the teachers provide those resources to students, right?
Yes.
The people who are there every day with the students, the outside vendors might be there a couple of days a week, or they might be there for an 8-week stretch, but teachers are there regularly providing resources for students every day. And if you're undersourcing them, you're under-resourcing students. And that is one of the things that we really need to be thinking about when we're thinking about our students, right? Like I was thinking about how does the teachers union and what's going on relate to what's going on with our students? Because we often spend money to buy snacks or treats or different things for kids. Like we just had a holiday, or we're on holiday right now, but that's a time that we'll make a little celebration for the kids and reward them for the work that they've been doing. And again, teachers are bringing their whole selves to the classroom. They are bringing their own money in to do certain things. Certain things
Yes.
we ask for, they say they don't have the money for it. So it's just kind of like understood that we do put money in. There's even like tax breaks for teachers automatically because they know that we come out of pocket to
Sure.
support students. So again, it is important to understand when you are under-resourcing a teacher, you're under-resourcing the students that are there with the teachers every day. So, we really
Yeah.
want
And
to, bring that to
no,
you.
no, and then I know folks will say it's all about the money, but it is about the money. It's also about being involved and informed, especially people might say this is a political kind of situation, but you really want to know what the school is or school district is doing with all of the funding that they're getting, and you want the best for your kids, right? And so we're talking about class size ratios. I know for upper grade or secondary, middle, and high school, some of those schools have large numbers of students in their classes. Studies show if you have a large number of students in your class, then it might not be as effective because kids can kind of hide behind one another, especially if you got like a 40 or a 45, a class roster of 40 or 45. That's a lot of bodies to manage.
All year. I've had a group of students all year, 40 students, 41
Yes.
students. It's
Yes.
happened.
It's crazy.
It has happened. So it's like,
Yes.
and you can't meet the needs of we're not robots. We don't have
Yes.
assistants. We don't have
Absolutely.
secretaries,
Yes.
It's like, this is for me to manage, and I can manage all right, but
Yeah.
of course I could do a much better job with a lower class size. And so it's something that, sometimes I think, we're getting away from some of those things, and we really need to remind them, like, if there's too much testing, then that is not enough time to actually teach. Like, we need more time for teaching, less time for testing. We
Yes,
need
absolutely.
lower class sizes, which means maybe hire more teachers or bring down those ratios, right? Instead of saying, oh, well, this is what we're going to do. We're going to put 40 to 1, or this is going to work, and they overtax teachers that way too, right? So we're talking about burnout. Yeah. Or, when we can't staff teachers, right, because of the conditions and people have left, and then you have substitutes, which substitutes, sometimes they don't have the skill level sometimes to manage students. We have personally seen the classes be really wild because teachers are human. Teachers might be ill or sick, or again, like we said, sometimes, and that's when I came in the district, we would always have an unfilled position. I came into one of those unfilled positions and stayed.
How long did you stay in that unfilled position?
So it was year-round school back then, and the kids had started in July, like July 1st or whenever, and then I came in August, about mid-August I came, and there were some, rotating of substitutes, and really getting the class together was a challenge, right? Because the classroom, when there is not any structure, for a long time, the classroom becomes a place.
Chaotic.
Yes. It becomes a place where kids may fight in the classroom, where they throw things in the classroom, where they are, just playing all the time, getting out of the seat whenever they want, because they are used to not trusting the
They're
teachers.
Used to it. Yeah, absolutely.
Right. And they don't trust the substitutes that come in and out, right?
Yeah.
But I stayed with that class for the rest of the school year. But I came in August, and they had a series of substitutes before that. And they interviewed me.
And you got them on the right track.
I got them on the right track.
It was a struggle, though, right?
It was a struggle. It was
Absolutely.
a struggle. But, like I said, this is my calling. So I wasn't even thinking about quitting, but I definitely had other classes and other colleagues, and I looked around, I was like, oh, what happened to that teacher? What happened to, so a couple of them didn't make it through. So, and it happened every year at my school in South LA where I started.
Okay.
So it was a rough, but that's what the kids needed. Someone that was steady, someone that's going to be there, that's committed to them. And that's really, something that I want to bring to the surface for parents, other educators around the country who might be watching.
Yes.
Just keeping those things in mind. Of course, if there's different ways to support the teachers. Some people get out and march with the teachers. Some, bring donuts or cookies. But I
Absolutely.
really hope, really hope that everything's going to come together and there won't be a strike.
Listen,
but those are the things that are on the line.
yes, it's either or. Either they pay us before, reluctantly, right? Get the contract done, because we've been working without a contract for, since it expired at the end of last school year, 2024-25. So we've been working. Yeah, it's a long time. And then we haven't even mentioned some of the other unions. With the administrators union, they voted to strike. Local 99, they voted to strike. And so it's like, okay, these schools might be shut down, but we're just asking for simple things. I have a few more demands. I just want to make the audience aware. Yeah. So PSAs are basically our attendance counselors. They make sure the kids are coming to school. They'll run campaigns to kind of incentivize the kids to come who are struggling to get to school. So we want more of those. We want more PSWs, which is our psychiatric social workers. We want more school psychologists. And so right now the district is saying, hey, we're glad that you want those things, but it's not in the budget. We talked about arts and PE prep time for elementary teachers. And then get this, we're just asking for cleaner schools, right? So, fully stocked bathrooms, which is true, because on our campus, we have three wonderful folks who take care of our campus, but they're taxed. I mean, it's like, one of our, the main, campus manager, he gets calls back to back to back to back. Hey, can you come over here? Can you do this, that, and the third? And this is like, man, he's just all over the place, and nothing really, it's a struggle to get things done because everybody's, always calling on him. And then the second guy, he'll come in, he's taxed. The third guy, he'll come in, and it's just crazy. But we're just asking for simple things. And
it is simple. I know. I just want to say a little bit more about that, because
absolutely,
that's another extension of teacher duties, right? Because when we are short on people to help clean the school, guess who? Yeah. Because I don't want your kids coming into a dirty classroom. I remember some years ago, I had a problem with roaches. And whatever was happening, I would come in my class.
Please don't mention the school. Please don't mention the school.
No, I'm not mentioning the school. I would come in class, and I noticed this happened like a week or 2 weeks in a row, where there was a ring of like dead roaches and stuff around the class. So I would have to clean up before I got to what I was supposed to be: making copies, grading papers, calling parents,
you're being the exterminator.
I had to sweep up these dead things because I knew that would be a distraction to learning. It would be, so that took away from the things that I needed to do. So we're asking for you to fully staff the schools with someone to clean the schools, enough people, because that is going to have the quality. And depending on some teachers don't have the mobility to do that, right? What if I, was disabled? I may not be able to go and sweep all around the class before the school day began. And then therefore your kid would come in, they see roaches on the floor. Are they dead? Are they focused on what I'm teaching when there's dead roaches on the floor?
Probably not.
So these are the things that, when there's not an extra person to do nursing, the different staff at the school that's there, our clerical staff, sometimes we have supplies. So things happen. And if you're not fully staffing the schools with these extra essential school workers, instead we're giving the money to this contracts or whatever, then, again, you're under-resourcing the school, the employees, then you're under-resourcing the students. So.
Absolutely. Yeah. They can't focus because they're worried about, other things other than what they should be worried.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. So, those are, and then, last thing, just special education and inclusion. So, under special education, folks just might think that it is students with disabilities, where it's not just students with disabilities, it's our
Right.
gifted population, right? And so,
Absolutely.
being able to differentiate between, folks who are on task and they know how to do it. Okay, let's give them some stuff to do where we know that they're going to do it. And then, let's kind of cater and to our folks who need, a little bit more assistance. So here's the case in point. One class, I've had a friend, a longtime friend. She's had a class, 20 kids in a class. This is special education class. The
Yes.
cap is 14. Cap is
Right.
14. She has 20. Right. And so
Yeah.
again, you're talking about the quality of education for those, for those students. It's crazy. Our union is just asking for simple things, things that should be taken care of, because again, we're here helping the kids get what they need to get, trying to help them to get to grade level if they're not at grade level. And if they're at grade level, let's kind of help them to push them, give them some
Yes.
project-based
Yes.
activities where we know that they can perform, so it's across the board, not just our special education with, folks who have IEPs and things of that nature, but we're also looking at the folks who are able to do on their own. And so we want to push them forward as well and, have them working to the best of their, capability and capacity. So that's kind of what we're
Yeah.
looking at. So those are some of the big hot topics with this
Yeah.
upcoming strike that's supposed to take place in our school district April 14th. So,
And we're just hoping so much that that does not happen because everything's going to come
and
together.
I'm hoping
So,
everything comes together.
I am doing a shout out, to any other people who want to talk about these issues or any other questions you have. And, we know that public opinion is on a range of things. I'm obviously
Yes.
coming with my opinion and our viewpoints. But if you have, I know I've had a board member on my show before, but if someone else has a viewpoint, we want to hear it because the public and the parents and other educators around the country, we're all have the same goal to educate
Yes.
kids, to make sure. So we want to have, we need to have these ideas to be talked about and to considered and all of that because it is for that next generation. So we're not just asking for more money just because we like to get rich and we know that it's not a profession in which you're going to get rich.
Right. Right.
Again, we do this because this is our calling and, we are asking for some basic things. Our students deserve the best and we are
Absolutely.
asking for us to, for you to give us some basic things because the teachers can then bring, if we can have it at a base level, we as teachers can bring that sauce, right? To make
Yes.
it the highest quality education possible. Okay. All right. So thanks again to James Riley for coming on the show to really talk about what teachers need and how that specifically connects to the quality of education for kids, making sure our next generation is on track for learning and on track for success, right?
Absolutely.
So thanks again, everyone out there, for listening, tuning in, watching, either way it goes. Make sure you're doing something today that is giving your child the competitive advantage. Have a great day.
Take care.
Thanks again for supporting the Falling for Learning podcast. New episodes go live every Saturday at 5 p.m. You can watch us on youtube.com at Falling for Learning or listen on all major podcast platforms such as Apple, Google, Audible, Spotify, and much more. For more resources, visit fallinginlovewithlearning.com. We really appreciate you. Have a wonderful week.